I bet you thought I forgot about the egg rolls. Well, here they are, just like I said.
Welcome to part 2 of my Traxxas Revo 3.3 review and test run. I hope you guys enjoyed the first part. Let me start this video out by comparing it to some of the other larger nitro trucks I have. This is the T-maxx Tony Special, the Traxxas T-maxx 3.3. Right over here we have the HPI Savage XL K5.9. I lined them all up for you guys, and I'm using a special wide angle camera right now because a lot of this stuff just doesn't even fit in my regular camera. So excuse that fisheye effect, I had no choice. I wanted to point out just how big the Revo 3.3 is in fact. And honestly, the T-maxx 3.3 is a huge truck in itself also. If you notice, they are basically exactly the same size, both the T-maxx and the Revo. Now keep in mind, the 3.3 does have the extended chassis. If you went with a T-maxx Classic, which has a 2.5 engine in it, it would be a substantially smaller RC. It would also have not these wheels here. It would have these original Chevron style T-maxx wheels. One of the best in the industry, and I love them. As a matter of fact, this is a fit scale Baja wheel. Guys, this wheel is really about the same size as the stock wheels on the Traxxas Revo. It may be half an inch bigger at most, but obviously compared to the HPI Savage XL, the Savage XL and the Baja wheel are about the same size. The front of the Savage is really only about, I would say, an inch and a half longer than both the Revo and the T-maxx. And this is the largest Nitro Savage ever made, with the largest engine ever made. If you really look at it in terms of engine spec, the K5.9 is 0.36 cubic inches. This is a little bit less than a 0.21. The 3.3 is a 0.20 cubic inch displacement. What I'm saying is, yeah, some people say these trucks are a little bit underpowered. Now, to be honest with you, as long as they pull a wheelie, and this one does pull a wheelie just fine on 20% nitro with a rich tune, to me, that seems to be perfectly adequate. A lot of you guys said, hey, put a big block in here. Well, it's not that easy. Now, to do a big block upgrade on one of these, yes, these will be a beast. The problem is, it's not a straight drop-in. You need a pretty comprehensive upgrade kit to fit a larger engine into one of these chassis. Let me remove the bodies on all of them and we'll examine the chassis themselves. Some of you guys asked me in the comments, well, does the Revo drive better, and I guess you meant more stable or not, than the T-maxx? I've hit about 40 miles an hour on both of them so far, and guys, they perform exactly the same in my opinion.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Here we go, we're about to do a speed run. Second gear, super straight driving.
This is a very old design with a dual front shocks here, but man, the shocks are very good. I got nothing bad to say about them. You know, in terms of performance, you don't really have that much power where it's overpowering the chassis, where, you know, something like this would be that obvious. Now, the Savage is known for the twin vertical plate chassis design. You could see there's a giant aluminum chassis plate running down the entire side. This is why they call it a vertical plate, and there are two of them. Makes perfect sense, to be honest with you. The reason is, you know, when you have two pieces of metal going this way, it's very hard for them to fold over each other. It's just the laws of physics, that is how they are. The T-maxx has always had problems with the front bulkheads, buckling, braking, but these particular 3.3 models have reinforced bulkheads on the bottom. They have extra chassis skid plates. In my bashing sessions that I've done, and I jumped this one pretty good, I haven't broken anything at all. It's pretty solid and reliable. I will be hard-pressed to pick my favorite amongst these two. I like the both of them. They both perform about the same. The Savage right here, guys, it's a gas guzzler. So I've actually stayed away from Savages for a while now because the price of nitro fuel has been just so extravagantly high over the years. Recently it has come down, so I picked up a Savage, you know, why not? This one actually came with fuel, but these 3.3 engines are pretty fuel efficient, to be honest with you. I mean, I do drive a Prius. I care about fuel, believe it or not. Yes, I know it's ironic that I like nitro and gas trucks and I drive a Prius. Many of you point that out. The facts are, the longer I drive the Prius, the more money I'm gonna save to spend on RCs. That's why I have 3 giant RCs right here on my table. What can I tell you? That's reality. What about the width? I'm gonna put them on top of each other right here. So I'm gonna align the wheels right aligned here. I would call this about 1.5 inches narrower. So theoretically, the Revo should handle better. But in my testing, they are honestly about the same. But if you like this sort of mechanical thing, and I personally like all of these moving parts in the front here, it's just freaking incredible. Look at that chassis. It's just so nice. It's like a work of art. If you were Da Vinci and you were into RCs, this might be something that Da Vinci would come up with. I don't know. Just me. It's my opinion. The Savage is kind of archaic. You know, it's just a big truck. Honestly, it really isn't that much bigger. One of the worst things on the T-maxx is this exposed steering servo. If your suspension bottoms out like this, notice that the entire steering servo mechanism is exposed. This is gonna get destroyed. The reason is, it's just very low and unprotected. The Revo has really thought of that. Notice it has servo protectors. Another innovative thing I've seen on the Traxxas Revo when it first came out is this plastic cooling head protector. Now, it seems like this is included in every single nitro engine today, but guess what, guys? It isn't. People used to put zip ties all around the top of the fins on the cooling head to prevent any damage in case you flipped. Now, usually, the zip ties also wound up doing a lot of damage to the anodizing on the cooling head. This is a really useful feature. I like it. The wheel hub itself is not a basic 17mm, it's not a basic 14mm. If you notice, it is serrated. It has a special design to it, along with the nut itself and the included tool to remove the nut from the RC right here. The wheel itself also obviously has the same exact design. It seems to me the goal of this is not to make sure that you can only use this Traxxas wheel, but it is to increase some of the surface area on the wheel to prevent stripping in the future. Let's take a look at the lights on the OptiDrive. Pretty interesting system here. So the left one says sensor and this green one says function. So green is good, everything is functional. As I move the car back and forth, you're gonna see the light actually go on. You guys see that, the blue? Yeah, that means the sensor is active. This is what you wanna see. Now, a lot of times these things don't work, and actually I took mine out on my original Revo 2.5 and it ran much better than it did with it, but this one seems to be fine. The bottom of the chassis is really well protected. There are literally skid plates for each single component. The receiver battery is housed here, and I actually did have to replace it. This is the original Traxxas Power Pack receiver battery. I got a new one on Amazon. It was about 15 bucks. Transmission has a complete entire skid plate. Each servo, you guys see this, has a skid plate and protection. On the original T-maxxes, a servo skid plate is one of the first things you wanted to do, because when your Traxxas T-maxx ran over something, it pretty much destroyed the entire servo mechanism along with the shocks in the front. If you're wondering what's the benefit of an inboard shock system like this, let me tell you right now, massive benefits. In fact, all F1 style racing cars, the shocks are inboard. The reason is it brings an extra amount of mass inside the chassis itself, which is what you want. But in this particular truck, that's not really what we're after. Putting the shocks inboard really provides a whole bunch of protection for the front of your suspension arms. You know, when you're driving, this stuff is always extremely exposed. That's why people get suspension guards in the front. If you think this is a huge amount of suspension travel for a 10th scale truck, and I honestly do think it is, well, guess what? Traxxas bundled the long travel rocker set. These are basically just longer rocker arms and slightly different springs to give you an extra 30 millimeters of travel. It says on the Traxxas website you get from 90 to 120 millimeters. So basically an extra 30 millimeters of travel, which 30 millimeters is more than an extra inch of travel. The shocks themselves are also not cheap units. They may be plastic body shocks, but guys, they do not leak. Notice the shaft itself, it is a gold color, not silver as usually they are. This is titanium nitride. One of the best upgrades you could ever get. MIP, which is Moore's Ideal Products, used to produce titanium nitride shock shafts for the Traxxas T-maxx and E-maxx. This thing already has it. This would have been like a $40 to $50 upgrade just to get the shock shafts coated in titanium nitride. Another benefit from the OptiDrive, apparently not only does it control the forward and reverse engagement, but it's somehow allowed to reduce the amount of moving parts inside the transmission. I'm not quite sure if this controls the 2-speed itself, because usually it doesn't. There is an adjustment mechanism as typically found on all 2 speeds, but the transmission actually shifts fantastic. You guys see right here, this is the sensor that is going into our transmission that is going to be checking whether the rotor is spinning forward or reverse. We have a disc brake system. It's a pretty simple brake system, but it works extremely well. I mean, this car stops on a dime. I like it. The wiring layout and the way it's organized, extremely clean. You got to keep in mind with 4 servos, you have a lot of extra wires, but everything here is housed in its own radio boxes. If you're asking yourself which one of these I prefer, well, I love them both. The only problem is this one needs a little bit of extra work right now. That's why I've been taking my sweet time doing a running video on this. This one actually runs, it works, it starts, it never lets me down. In terms of complexity, this Savage is really not much different than the original Savage 21. It's basically the same system of electronics here, the same twin vertical plate chassis. You just have a 3-speed transmission and a giant engine, no big deal. The Revo, on the other hand, has a whole bunch of electronics. This particular one does not have the modern TQI, but some of the versions do, and you could use the Traxxas Link app, which honestly is very remarkable. It'll give you lifetime readouts of RPM, speed, engine temperatures. You could record a lot of your data and use it later. I've actually used it on my Traxxas Jado. Pretty remarkable system. This is like, I guess you could call the Swiss Army knife of RC, and this is like the Ford Bronco that O.J. Simpson tried to escape with, right?
Don't throw it all away. Don't throw it all away.
I can't take this.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I can't.
You got your whole family out here. OJ, you still there? Yeah, Jay, it's time again. It's going to be better tomorrow. Get rid of the gun. Toss it.
Alright, see you later. I still haven't taken off my nerd work shirt. I gotta go do stuff. Bye.
I bet you thought I was gonna forget about the egg rolls. Well, here they are. I got 2. I'm only gonna eat 1 because I don't need that many calories right now. Save 1 for later, you know what I'm saying? Gotta get some nice duck sauce going on this egg roll. It's really what it's all about. Oh yeah. Look at that. Pork, cabbage, oil, whatever else they put in here. T-maxx Tony might not be a chef, but he's a nitro guru. And I gotta tell you, he knows a good egg roll when he tastes one. This is it. Time to put this away and go back to working on the Revo. That's what matters. See you next time. Later.